Hi, and welcome to the NASSCO Safety Podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Piven, and today we're going to be talking about manufacturing safety, and I have with me Larry Brown from Aries. He is the CEO and president of Aries, been with them for 9 years.
Correct.
Welcome, Larry. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, thanks for letting me talk about this very important subject. So, as you mentioned, I'm with Aries Industries, been in the industry for about 9 years, and one of the most important things, if not, I would say the most important thing is my role, is the safety of our employees. It's the number one thing I think about every day I come in the building, and it's the number one thing I think about when I leave the building is our employees' safety.
That's fantastic. And one of the things I know from safety, what I do, having a leader like you who puts that as a priority is the best we can ask for. When the presidents and the CEOs take this subject seriously, the employees stay safe, right? So you've seen it. You've seen it work this way, right?
Absolutely. You have to have a commitment, and you just can't say it. You got to have things that people see. You have to walk the talk, as they say, whether it's metrics, it's quarterly meetings, it's identifying things throughout the day that people see. It's what I tell people is when you see something, just fix it, right? There's times that a carpet might be pulled up, right? As in Wisconsin in winter, right?
Yeah.
Flatten it out so no one trips, right? That's the kind of culture we want. It gets back to having a safety culture, which is what we believe in very much at Aries Industries.
So if you see a safety hazard, stop and address it.
That's the simple message we tell everybody. Just take a few seconds and think about the others. We call ourselves the Aries family. Let's make sure we act like that throughout the day.
Perfect. Now, you and I talked before we put this together, and we kind of wanted to break it into building safety,
Correct.
And then the manufacturing components, and then your customer safety, right? So let's talk about the building side of this, your facilities. Right. How do you keep your staff safe there?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of things, and it's just not me. It's the entire leadership, and it's all our employees. But number one, what we did was we invested in building security. Our building is actually in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And so we have kids that are driving their bikes in the streets and across the street from us. So we put in fences all the way around the building so no one could get in that shouldn't be in the building, potentially getting hurt. We also you have to check in when you come, and you have to have a code to get in, so not anybody can just walk in our building, right? That's also helpful for tracking purposes, so when people are coming around the building, they have an ID on, people can welcome them to it. But also, we do fire drills, we do tornado drills. We have access to that. If there is a fire or a tornado, we know who's in the building, and we can make sure that we have everyone accounted for safely.
That's fantastic.
So that's one of the first things that we did, was try to secure the entire building that we had.
Yeah, so you're protecting the people from coming in and getting in the way or getting hurt just coming on your site, as well as protecting your employees inside the fence line.
Yeah, and the other thing we've done is and we love having customers come. We love having customers come. Yeah. But we tell them what are some of the safety rules, right? It's like the PPE. Do you have eye protection? Do you have steel-toed shoes? As you walk through our factory, we have yellow lines. Do not cross those yellow lines. You have to stay within these yellow lines. And we have static check. Just don't cross over and touch something that could cause damage to equipment, or more importantly, damage to yourself. So it's a requirement of all of us that when we are walking around, that we are responsible for that person's safety. And before we start, you have a safety talk with them as well. So we spend a lot of time on that with our employees and encouraging people to come visit, but we want them to come safely and leave safely as well.
So you're looking over the safety of the workers as well as the safety of the visitors, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move into the next phase of this. We're going to talk about that manufacturing safety.
Correct.
For your employees. And I know there's a lot to talk about here, so why don't you start breaking it down for us and what it looks like at Aries?
Yeah, and I mean, we'll start. So we manufacture cameras. We also do buildup out of all types of vehicles, transits, F550s to even larger vehicles. And part of it is when you're putting on some of the lights and other aspects of the build out, we have harnesses now that employees have to wear. So you're on a 10.5-foot box. Okay. You want to make sure your employees are safe, and we do training with regard to that. We have also established that area as a safety committee, and that safety committee has monthly training for all our employees on on items that they're supposed to be working on, training, making sure we're following. The other thing, Dennis, that they do is if there is an issue, a reportable incident, or even something that's not reportable, someone sees as a safety, there's a process that goes up, and the safety committee will kind of resolve it and come with a suggestion to keep our employees and everyone safe. The one thing at Aries is if there is a safety dollar cost of something, it just gets done. There's no approval up through the CEO. There's no approval. That safety committee, if it's something that's going to keep our employees safe, our customers safe, we're just going to do it. And I think that's part of the culture when you talk about walking it, the talk. You got to make an investment like that with regards to it. You know, we also had another incident that we're learning, right? We're far from perfect. I am absolutely far from perfect on the safety. But we had an incident where we were working with these trucks. They back in, right? They back up and they might hit something or nick something or almost hit something you shouldn't be hitting.
Pinch an employee between a wall or a column or something like that, yeah.
So after a couple of those, the team got together and said, hey, we now have, anytime you go to back up anywhere around the facility, it's 2 people. And it's 1 person driving it, it's 1 person doing the spotting of it. And since that time, everything's been...
You've eliminated the accidents.
Exactly.
Right. Now, in your culture, right, that when you train that, I want to talk about that a little deeper.
Yeah.
They understand that there's no exceptions. Gee, I can't find anybody. I'm just going to go ahead and back that trailer up. No, they can't. They got to stop until they find that spotter.
That's absolutely correct, and that's what we tell everyone. Again, it gets back to we train them, but there's a little bit of this behavior audits that we do as well. So we'll walk around and make sure people are wearing steel-toe shoes. We're making sure people have the eye protection. I mean, as I said, I'm not perfect. And one time I was out looking at a truck and going through things like I normally do. And I had my eye protection on, and I went to read something, and I put them up on my head, and an employee said, hey, Larry, you know, you need to keep your eye protection on. I was like, thank you. Thank you for thinking about me. And that employee's still here. And
that's what's important.
That's important is that, you know, we had people around, and I went around and told people that, you know, it's okay. I mean, every one of us should be looking after all of us. There's no one that gets away with it because we all care about each other as an Aries family.
Yeah, look, one of the things I notice in safety is when the people at the top, you're at the top of the business. I know you're very humble about that. But when you go out there and they see that you follow the rules that you ask them to follow, and that it's okay to question you if you don't follow those rules, what a powerful message.
Yeah.
Because now the CEO of the business is telling me I'm human too, right? And you have the authority to stop me and make it right, but I care about you too. You got to do it, right? And that's an awesome message. Way too often in safety, we have senior leadership that doesn't quite understand that message, and they'll go out in the field and they won't wear their PPE, and then I'm getting a phone call going, hey, how come he doesn't have to wear his stuff and I have to wear my stuff? You've eliminated that because you're sending that message.
I think that's spot on. It really is. I think we're all in it together, but I want people to look after, honestly, I want people to look after me, right? You know, if I had my glasses up, something would happen. You know, again, I want people to look after me, and we should be okay saying, hey, you can't cross that yellow line. You don't have steel-toe shoes. You know, keep your glasses on. You're not a forklift operator. You can't be operating a forklift. Don't back up without somebody else. It's okay to do that. And it takes time, right? Safety's never over. I always talk about it being a journey, and it's one of the things we talk about every day. We have the safety boards, and as part of quality and cost and delivery. But safety's the first thing we talk about every day as we go through production as they start each of the shifts.
Oh, that's excellent. I want to go back to the safety committee for a second before we move on to the other topic. Your safety committee, you've empowered them, as you said, to solve problems. And if there's a spend associated with that, you're okay with it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there is no ROI required, you know,
awesome.
on other capital requirements. For sure, I'm going to put an ROI on it.
Right.
But on safety, there's no ROI. You just go do. You just go fix it.
You've
And-
empowered
and-
them to fix it.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
And we encourage them to do that, and we have them follow up with anybody who's brought that up. And we thank the people who have identified it as an issue. We want to make sure our employees, like I said, are safe when they come into the building and are
Right.
safe when they leave and go home. To me, all the other stuff's extremely important, but that, to me, you've had a successful day at Aries Industry when that happens.
Fantastic. One last thing before we move on. You mentioned behavior-based safety.
Yeah.
I did a podcast on behavior-based safety
Oh.
and safety culture already, but I want to touch on how you're operating because you mentioned you had your employees go out and do observations. Do you give them a card that they check, or do you just let them do the observation solely on their own? Do you-
Yeah, we let them do the observation on their own. If they
Okay.
do find something, they'll let the employee know and stuff like that. That is one of the things we are working on, is to continue to, I would say, formalize some of the processes around safety. Are we doing them? Are we checking them and making a much more documented process of that?
And you've
very-
seen success with that, right?
Oh, for sure. And
Yeah.
for sure. And the one thing you have to take away from everyone's anxiety is it's about getting you home safely. That's what this is about. It's not about, you know, finding something and you get rewarded because you
Right.
found something, or
Right.
that person gets disciplined. It's about going home safely, and that's what we try to encourage. And that's all our jobs at Aries Industry. And we also value that when customers, vendors, whoever comes in the building, you know, we're responsible for them.
Okay, let's talk about customers now.
Sure.
Right? I know you spend a lot of time designing your equipment in the concept of protecting your customers and how they use the equipment that you provide.
Correct.
Let's talk about some of the things, soft tissue fatigue.
Right.
How are you helping your customers reduce soft tissue fatigue injuries?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we know in our environment, right, there's a couple things, but the equipment's extremely heavy. When I first started, I could not believe how heavy the cameras were.
Right.
We offer cranes. So you have cranes now in the trucks that you put the camera on and they lower them into the manhole, right? So you're not lifting them and trying to get them through the manhole. We even offer a bunch of poles, right? So if the crane's not working, you put the poles together and that'll help alleviate any back injury as well. We also have, when you get on the back of a truck, right, we put poles on there, so our
Handrails?
handrails,
Yeah.
and so that people can make sure they're gripping so they don't fall and slip. And I know our steps are no slip steps as well. So again, you're out in these harsh environments. It
thinking
snows, it rains, it's misty. All that, you have to make sure you're trying to protect the best you can with our customers in the field.
Oh, that's
the-
excellent, right? And I know your customers appreciate it because where I used to be, I was one of your customers.
Right.
And I was responsible for those injuries that would occur if you didn't do that.
Right.
Right? If they would slip on a step because the coating would wear off or they wouldn't maintain it, which is not
Right.
your responsibility, but I'm like, that you came this way to my workers, maintain it.
Right.
It's there for a reason.
Right.
Right? And I'm glad that you pay attention to those things. Your customers, if they don't understand it, they should after this podcast, that those
Right.
things that you do are saving them from worker compensation costs and injuries and downtime for workers, right?
Right.
You're dealing with electric in these trucks.
Correct.
How do you keep us from getting shocked?
Yeah, well, all of them have grounded, right? They're all grounded. We have individual ground circuits. And one of the keys to it is a lot of electricity around, right?
Right.
And one of the steps we have as part of our quality check is that everything has to pass. It has to make sure it's grounded, all the electricity, everything is set up appropriately, right? We have a checklist that you've done that. And one of the things at our company's culture is we don't ship it unless it's safe and quality for our customers. So I have an example of somewhere where we were having trouble making sure that it's grounded and it was safe. And so you do a lockout, tagout, right, as they're working on it. So
They don't get shocked.
right. At first, it starts there with the lockout, tagout, right, when you're doing service and maintenance of it. But more importantly is we missed our customer date, right? But that was okay, right? For safety and quality reasons,
Right.
that takes precedent over a customer date. I can call up a customer and yes, they'll be disappointed, right? And we're disappointed. I can tell you no one's more disappointed at us when we don't hit a date. But I'll tell you, We went down. I told them, hey, nice job on this. You did the right thing for our customers and for our employees, right? You don't ship unless it's safe and quality. That's more important than anything, and that's kind of the culture we're building at Aries Industries.
It's outstanding. Safety first culture, right?
Yeah.
All the way top to bottom. So for the new employee that comes to Aries, right, what are the top 3 things that you want that employee to know about safety?
Yeah, safety is, it's everyone's responsibility. It's the new person's responsibility, right? You have to own your responsibility. Number 2 is, it's okay to tell myself or anybody else if we're not if we're not in a safe position. It's okay, and by the way, you're gonna come back to work the next day and you're actually gonna be said, hey, thank you, because you did the right thing. And the last thing I'd want them to do is if they see anything, raise your hand. Don't ask somebody else to kind of find it. You know, pull the map. Do something, I always tell people, do something when no one's looking. Do the safety thing when no one's looking. That
Right.
means we've got to the right culture. And I would encourage all new employees of Aries Industry to act in those terms.
Well, that's awesome. Listen, thanks for coming on the podcast and talking about safety in manufacturing. We really appreciate you doing this. And I'm sure we've had some viewers that learned some things today about manufacturing. So thank you, Larry.
Well, thank you as well. It's been an honor to be part of this podcast.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed our topic for today. Thanks for joining the NASSCO Safety Podcast. For more information on safety topics, please go to nassco.org, click on safety, and choose your safety topic.